r/AskReddit. Teachers of Reddit. What are some of the weirdest things you've confiscated from a student? A sugar glider. Kept hearing a high-pitched squeak in class. Noticed she had a small animal in her jacket pocket when it decided to poke its head out. A student brought one of these to my class. I teach college, so that was fine, and I was super excited and she let me hold it. The students were busy doing some group work, and when they were just about done I went to hand it back to her. It then proceeded to leap down the front of my shirt and attach itself to my bra. So now I'm supposed to be lecturing again, but this girl's sugar glider is not only sitting in my cleavage, but running around under my shirt. More than half the class had no idea why I was distracted, or why I shoved my hand down between my boobs until I finally got the little guy out. The following year a different student's hedgehog peed on me. A little orange lizard in a box with a Charizard Pokemon card taped to it. Edit. To clarify, the card was taped to the box. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Now I understand the meaning of inbox spammed. To the box or the lizard? A vitamin B12 vape pen. Didn't know they existed. It was a 9-year-old. In class. Now watch the kids vaping e-cigs get shamed for not smoking a vitamin vape. A homemade arrow made with a pencil and a modified razor blade. Was this in prison? Nope. High school in Average Town, USA. My father took a cleaver off a student. My dad was doing lunch duty and saw the kid open his jacket and motion his buddies to have a look. Turns out there was going to be a fight after school. My dad knew the kid and asked him to step into the hallway. He got the cleaver off the kid and took him to the office. I'm not sure what his punishment was, but pre-Columbine, so who knows. In 7th grade I accidentally brought a hunting knife to school. I'd been playing with it at home, flipping it and trying to catch it by the handle. I was doing this while it was fastened in a sheath, so no danger or anything. Well, I missed and dropped it. Couldn't find where it went and figured I'd just find it later. Well, I forgot about it. Fast forward about a week. It's the end of the day and I'm cleaning out my backpack at school. Found the knife at the bottom of the bag. Yep, I'd been carrying the thing to and from school for a week and didn't know. I just shoved it back into the bag before anyone saw and then took it out once I got home. So lucky I didn't get caught with it. Not confiscated, but actually given as a gift. A bag of her hair. A bag of every strand of hair she's had cut since birth. That's probably the oddest one here, honestly. In music class, this kid Oliver pulls out a Matchbox car and starts playing. Teacher takes it, turn around, places it on piano, turns back. He's already gotten the next one out of his pocket and it back to playing. So she took it again. Rinse repeat. Funniest shit ever to an 8-year-old. We laughed so ducking hard. A pencil with a bunch of glued on dong-shaped confetti. Today I learned there's dong-shaped confetti. The naked lady booby lighter. Kid was 7th or 8th grade in an alternative school setting. He was always sneaking stuff in his pockets and getting it taken up. We are walking to lunch and my assistant stops suddenly. He comes back with a metal naked woman torso in his hand. You could press one boob and the flame came out of the other. It was fantastic. It was super popular in the office for the few days until mom came to pick it up. She was really glad to get family heirloom back. When I was in junior high, 7th and 8th grade, I sold the naked lady booby ink pen. While you're writing, she had clothes on, but turn it upside down and her clothes would come off. I could buy a box of a dozen for $2 and I was selling them for $1 EA. Made a mint. A white lacy thong from a kindergartner. She was wearing it on her head. Not a teacher, but a kid brought a human skull to school. I think the teacher just had a conversation with him about it. Edit to answer some questions. The skull was real. The kid was a baddie. His folks were more likely meth cooks than doctors. It didn't get donated. The school in question was near a rural mountain area where a lot of people lived who wanted to be left alone. The provenance of the skull was, at the most, conservative. Dubious. Was it real? Yes. A raccoon penis toothpick. He kept poking other kids with it. Sigh. I had to confiscate a 7th grader's iPad because he was looking up anime girl body pillows. A taxidermied kookaburra. She taught herself how to do it from books. It was not done well. Edit. Just to clarify, apparently it was dead, having been hit by a car, when she found it. Student. A teacher confiscated a dildo from a student. This was in 7th grade. After reading the title, my first thought was, I'm sure there will be a dildo comment here. I click and I see yours first. A bottle of passion fruit lube brought in by a 4-year-old, making all her friends smell her fruity hand cream. Poor mama must have had a long night and mixed up her eczema cream. A brick decorated with hentai in the locker of a 14-year-old boy. He was very different, that kid. Not a confiscation, but when my 4-5-year-olds were getting changed for PE, a little girl opened their bag and out fell a bunch of very sexy lingerie. 10 minutes later at the window I have a very red mum with the correct kit in hand saying she mixed up the dry cleaning with the daughter's PE kit. I pretended I hadn't seen. Bonus edit. When I asked him why he brought it in, he said for the skulls of my enemies. He didn't have friends, but not because he was odd. Even the odd kids hated his guts, but because he was horrible and obnoxious to everyone. Worked on his social skills with him for a long time and allowed him to run a manga club in my classroom Friday lunch times. Whilst I was in there, he made friends in the end and had a much nicer life since that club. He's a happy 18-year-old now with a girlfriend and kid. Having a kid at 16 was the normal in the deprived area, so him having a family, his own place and a job he enjoys is good. He messages me on Facebook every now and then to check in and tell me how his life is. Just because that's not happiness to some of you, please do not shit on his. I taught English in South Korea for a year. One time I caught a kid doing the old comic book inside a textbook routine. I was surprised. I didn't know kids did that. After laughing, I confiscated his comic book. In my school we used to do that but have non-fiction books inside fiction. For some reason during our library lessons we could borrow non-fiction, but during the lesson we had to read fiction. So this was what a lot of kids did. Student was trying to stick a large suction cup dildo, like the ones you use in the shower, to another student's locker. He actually asked what the problem was. Small Tupperware container of swamp water. Why was it confiscated? He was trying to put it on the girls next to him. Plus he could only read on a 2nd grade level in the 6th grade, so he needed to be paying attention, bless his heart. When I was in school, my English teacher confiscated 50 Shades of Grey off another pupil during our silent reading time. We would have been in year 7 or 8 at the time. My classmate, who was the dumbest class clown, tried to kick off about it and asked the teacher why being taken away, and the teacher calmly said, "I'm not letting you read that. It's terribly written. It's as if it's been written by someone on a train. Edited. Added not." A Ziploc bag of pink Crayola crayons that he sliced perfectly into small discs with a razor blade. He was trying to market them in the hallways as hallucinogenic pills. Hahaha, brilliant. I teach little ones, so nothing nearly as risque as some of the others in this thread. I've confiscated handcuffs, a wrench, baby bottles, and a variety of bugs and small animals the kiddos caught out at recess. A colleague confiscated an adult movie from a 5-year-old. The kid didn't know what it was, didn't even know that it was a videotape, or anything about it. It just looked cool, the tape itself. He didn't know of the content. My friend had his toasty machine banned just when he started to make a profit. When teaching pre-K I had to confiscate a grenade. There was very serious confusion and terror when I saw him and told my aide that Timmy is holding a grenade. No, not a toy. Timmy. Name confidential. What do you have there, buddy? He tells me excitedly that it's a grenade. I asked him where he got it and he said he found it in the trees by his house. You know, as you do in Midwest America. Just find grenades in the trees. I made him give it to me immediately. It turned out to be hollowed out and I believe it was a World War II pineapple grenade. His mom called maybe 4 hours later to tell us, hey, I forgot to mention Timmy wanted to bring his grenade to school. You all can just put it in his cubby. She also explained that he just found it. I still can't believe that happened. How do you just find a grenade? Why do you let your child bring it to school? So many other questions. I had to confiscate an 11th grader's laptop because she was going to mature themed chat rooms during class. Specifically ones for married men looking to chat with young girls. Then, after she wasn't allowed to bring her laptop or phone to school anymore, she later got banned from school Chromebooks for doing it again. She was not very bright. My history teacher brought a live goat to school on multiple occasions and would keep it in the bottom drawer of a filing cabinet. Unrelated to the thread but 100% true. Maybe it was to put in his computer, so it had more RAM. A live white kitten. They had brought it in to give to their friend. The friend's parents had no idea and did not want a cat. These kids were 12 and 14, so I don't know where their common sense was. The cat was safely retrieved and went home with the principal for his son. Edit. Aside from the cat smuggling ring, the kids were generally pretty clever and not prone to such stupidity. Student here. In grade 4, a student in my class brought his cat into class. I brought in my cats on occasion for show and tell, but it's not quite the same thing. I'm not a teacher, but when I was in HS, one of the teachers saw a kid snorting coke off his desk, came by, slammed his hand on his desk and said no, told him to stay after class. Instead of reporting him to the principal and ducking up his life, he threw away what was left in the baggie and basically told the kid he shouldn't do drugs and don't ever bring this shit into my classroom again. Didn't confiscate anything, but I'm a sub, and a few weeks ago, I was at a rough school and I heard one kid whisper to another kid, "Hey, I'd like to place an order." Shit, so I'm keeping an eye on him, and then another kid says, "Oh yeah, I need some too." I ask them what they're doing. The kid taking the order says pizza. Sure. Anyways, I continue to eavesdrop. At one point, he's on his iPad and I sneak behind him to see what he's looking at. He is straight up on the Domino's website. I guess he had just gotten a job there and was using his discount or something, which I'm pretty sure his boss wouldn't be happy with, but it wasn't what I thought it was. Not a teacher, but my cousin is, and she had to take a Ziploc bag full of vodka soaked gummy bears from some freshmen. Nothing like getting drunk at 8 in the morning. A turtle. She had stolen it from the biology teacher's room and had it in the bathroom sink. Not a teacher, but someone who helps 5th graders adapting to their new school. We usually are a team of 5 or 6 older pupils who look after one class. Anyways, one day one of these kids wasn't paying attention to us and constantly playing with something under his desk. I then took it and it was 2 phones tied together back to back with rubber bands. To this day I don't know what this construction was for. They were having phone sex. Done. A note with the word penis spelled out with penises. Edit. So happy that tickles you guys. A can of Axe. Only because he sprayed another student with it, and to be fair to the student doing the spraying, the other student had gym class the previous period, and had not changed out or showered. He did smell, in the words of the Axe spraying student, like a dead rotting moose, but after the spraying he smelled like a dead rotting moose that had been sprayed with Axe body spray. It was not an improvement. This happened in the classroom where someone once optimistically hung up a green apple scented Wonderbalm. That also did not help. One of my students brought in a human anatomy textbook, and when he walked into class he has it open to the page with diagrams and anatomical drawings of the female genitalia. This was in 1st grade, by the way. I just held onto it for the day and sent it home with a note. This same student also brought a DVD copy of The Mummy during the first week of school, LOL. A nugget of weed wrapped in tin foil that a kid stole from his dad when he was mad at him. Someone in my class brought a dead squirrel in his backpack and threw it at someone in the hallway. Not a teacher and not confiscated, but hey, dead squirrel story. A set of chicken scissors, you know, the kind that cut through bone. Student here, not really confiscated, but it was pretty funny. This happened back in year 7, age 10-11. One of my friend named Same regularly printed off pictures of attractive women and Sonic. He would take them home and probably bust a nut to them at the age of 10. Anyway, it was lunchtime, so me and my friends went to the computer room. Same decided to use this time to print off a picture of a very busy woman wearing a bikini. By the way, this classroom was very open. I do not know how he managed to not get caught. Turns out the assistant principal was standing next to the printer and noticed the picture. I remember we were quietly laughing and telling Same he is so ducked. She held up the picture in front of the room and asked who printed the pic off. Everyone in the room began to snicker to the point where she too tried to hold back a laugh. No one claimed responsibility, but eventually a new rule was put up. Those who print off pictures of a sexual nature and are caught would have to do reception duty. Same survived that event. Sadly, he disappeared in year 8, never to be seen by me or my friends. This was about 6-7 years ago. Hentai. Tried hiding it behind a textbook, but the textbook was stood vertically on the desk. Red flag because A. No one reads like that. B. No one reads. Wasn't even a good one. Horrible taste. Edit for those asking for source. Wasn't footer, so why bother? Shrug. I'm a student, but me and my friends thought it was a good idea to make a slingshot type thing and shoot it at each other using it. It was made with a binder, a rubber band and really sharp pencils. We even shot nails and other found items. We got found on lunch recess shooting at each other. Got it taken away and dismantled. We just made more. When I was in middle school we were forbidden to take writing utensils into the bathrooms because of a graffiti issue. So of course we couldn't take in our bags. Lucky me realized I had started my period in the middle of history. I very sneakily reached my hand in my bag, grabbed a tampon, and placed it in my pocket. I walked to the back of the room to ask the teacher to go to the restroom and he laughed and said, "I saw you reaching in your bag. Hand over the marker and I'll let you go." After a moment of silence I pull out the tampon and place it in his outstretched hand. He stares at it for a second before handing it back and quickly motioning towards the door. I'll never forget his face, lol. When I was in Catholic high school I had a book on witchcraft confiscated from me. Not because it was about witchcraft but because I was reading it during study hall and the teacher informed me, and a few others, that non-school books couldn't be read during study hall. My wife, a teacher, a few years ago she confiscated a volunteer fire department pager from a 14-year-old who had just signed up with his local VFD. Good for him, of course. But he had no need for the thing during the day and it was the kind of pager that didn't just beep but could play radio traffic. Had a voice feature, so randomly throughout the day you'd hear this thing shriek followed by dispatcher. Refused to turn it off. Refused to stop bringing it to school. He was 14. He wasn't ever going to leave school for a fire emergency. He had no need for it there. Still, he dug in his heels that he needed it and that he was somehow legally entitled to it. Threatened me wife that the fire police were going to come and arrest her for her illegal seizure of official equipment. In reality, he got some serious counseling from school and parents in the fire department took away his pager until he got older. For those not in the know, in my state, the fire police are a unit within, I believe only, volunteer fire departments. Their primary job is to direct traffic during emergencies. They have super limited peace officer authority to allow them to direct traffic. I suppose in a weird situation where a person refused to stay back, one of these folks could arrest them. In reality, fire police are very often the volunteer firefighters who cannot, often for physical reasons, actually fight fires. They don't come charging into schools to arrest people for confiscating pagers from children. Also, and I cannot emphasize this enough, except in very rare exceptions, volunteer fire companies are privately incorporated entities that contract with a municipality to provide fire service. They are very rarely government agencies themselves, so there is no use still government property at play here. I'm a student. The teacher once took a kid's eraser cause he kept catapulting it with a ruler. The eraser had penis written on it. Truly a master of psychological warfare. Teacher here. I confiscated weed during my first year of teaching, which, admittedly, isn't too terribly odd. The odd part was that it was in an old pill bottle with the words, "weed, for use by student's name," and then, under that, it was signed by his mom. We clearly brought the mom in to pick him up, deal with the paperwork and the police, and she did confirm that she gave him the weed to cool him down during the school day. She was selling the kid's actual medication on the side and explained to us, the school officials and the officer, that weed basically did the same thing as his drugs, so, like, whatever. It was one of the most surreal moments of my life because she just couldn't understand what she had done wrong or why the officer was arresting her. An action figure with a picture of my face taped on the head. My mum is British and, back in the 70s, she did Camp USA where she was a camp counselor in California. So she's setting up some kids in their cabin and she notices a toy gun in amongst some clothes. So she picks it up and thinks, huh, that's really heavy. Yep, not a toy, real. First time my mum ever saw a gun. Apparently she freaked out, but the counselor said it wasn't loaded or anything, so they just confiscated it and gave it back at the end of his stay. To this day I have no understanding of why you'd send a child to camp with a handgun in amongst their underwear. My dad, who is a teacher, has taken away from student a pepper spray. That stupid kid sprayed it all over boys' restroom. Another thing that occurred, my father was not involved. One kid brought vodka in water bottle. They called his mother. She came to school. They showed her that bottle, asked her if they should call the police. She grabbed it, drank it all, and said you have nothing to prove now and left. Being a teacher must be nice. I'm not a teacher, but my wife is. She once confiscated a school issue iPad chock full of anime tentacle porn from a 13-year-old girl. Paperclip action figure, about 9 inches high, made up of what had to be 100 to 200 roughly bent up paper clips. A box of those candy airheads that was legitimately half the size of my body. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.